And I was just wondering, is there a way to do event check-in without having to use the app or the badge printer? Because we've used this session check-in and it works awesome. I'm in love with it. But I think for some of our smaller events, it doesn't really make sense to use the badge printing or need the app, but there's not necessarily a way to do just check-in alone since that little check-in feature was removed with the last update that you guys had.
Okay, so you're correct that the registration light was removed. It was removed because we do have a variance of check-in available that doesn't print a badge. The one thing that will change, and I just want to bring it up now, is actually let me just go to my actual event. It's a little silly here. Is with Onsite you have metrics for when you do event check-in and you've printed a badge, right? Well, you actually can still use the Onsite app. You can put it on an iPhone or an iPad, and it actually is called Session Check-in. And James, if you can throw a link at him real quick in chat, I appreciate that. But Session Check-in, what you do is you pick a session, and you come down and you actually go in. There's a new tab when you have Onsite published. So you still need to design a default badge, but you will not be using the badge. You will not be using the event check-in capabilities. There's actually a whole new option called session check-in. And you'll choose that when you log into Onsite and you pick your event, you'll choose session check-in. So what that does is you enable it per session. You will have choices. So essentially what you'll want to do, and I can just show here, is you call it session check-in. Okay? It will not be on an agenda. That way, nobody ever even sees it. You can still choose it in Onsite. You pick the date and time, which of course that's, just pick a date and time in the future, and then you will go activate it. You will set it to be open, because if it's closed, then nobody will be able to check in. You have options. You can set it up to have it allow for a single check-in, multiple check-ins. For instance, if you have breaks and people leave, you want them to come back in. The other thing you can do is you set it for check-in, everybody checks in, then you go into the platform and you set it for and you can set it for check-out. Actually, you would set it this way initially. You just set it checkout required. That way they check in once. Before they can come back into the session and check in again, they've got to check out. So there's options there. You can limit the capacity. You can limit the access. So like you can say if it's on your personal agenda, you'll be allowed to check in. If it's associated with a track that you can see, you'll be allowed to check in. Like I said, you can use the location capacity. So if I had this tied to, the ballroom, and the capacity of the ballroom was 250, then you would see that number here. There are other options. And again, the link will describe all of this and give you screenshots and things. But essentially, when you save that change, now, you still would use the app, but now you don't have to have an iPad. You can just set up an iPhone. And it's right there. They can scan the QR code. They can search by name. Then what happens with that, and let me see if I have a session. I think I do. Okay. So what happens there is instead of going to the Onsite section for metrics, because it's not event check-in, so the metrics won't be there, you'll go to the session. And you can go in and you can look at you can download the session metrics. And then it will show you who checked in and at what time. I don't know how long this will take. We'll see. Yep. 1 second too soon. Let me just download it real quick and I'll open it up and show you. So you can see who it was. You can see what exclusive group they're a part of, what groups they're a part of, and then you can see the check-in time. So date and time is in one column. If you require a checkout time, then it will show you that, and then it'll show you duration, how long they were there. So that is the alternative to the registration light check-in. It does require an Onsite credit because you have to use the Onsite app.